Well, hello, hello. I'm going to check audio first because I see that my internet is like dipping into the yellow right now. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Hey, oh, hi, Mark. How are you? Good to see you. Look at the trees. Good to see you. And good to see you, Mippet and Chill. Thank you very much for being here and keeping everybody in line. Not that we have too much trouble with people. They're usually pretty good. They're pretty good. Yeah. So, well, it's been quite the week. Mm. I've got a lot to cover tonight. Thank you, Mippet. Any background noise, let me know because I've got the overhead fan on the ceiling. If you hear anything weird, let me know, guys, in the chat, and I will turn it off. We want this to be as pleasant for you as possible, considering what we need to talk about. And we do have a lot. So I think I'm just going to get right into it. Since I got a few of you here and everybody else can follow along. We were going to cover Murdaugh's retrial stuff, Kohberger's venue motions that are going back and forth. I did update you on the last hearing with Boone's motions on my community tab, but for those of you that wanted a little more detail, I've got it. I've got it for you. And also, we've got our TikTok psychic case, Scofield in Guillard. And I thought I might start with that one because there's very little to say with that. So I think that might be a good one. Can you hear the keyboard? Just out of curiosity. Hello, Shane. Hello, Charlotte. They are crazy cases, Shane. You're not kidding. These are all full boat, like whoa, whoa, whoa kind of stuff. So there we go. Little bit. You can hear the keyboard a little bit. I'll try to. Okay. Purple says no. Mark said, Mark, you have excellent hearing. I always go with you because you've got an excellent set of headphones, I think. You don't hear it? Look at the trees? Okay. All right. So if it's okay with you guys, I think that I will start with Scofield. All right. Let me just put me back up. With Scofield, I will give you the rulings. But basically, what has happened is the last time we spoke about Scofield versus Guillard, and this is the lawsuit with a professor that was defamed by the TikTok psychic Ashley Guillard in regards to blaming her for the murders of the Idaho 4 in Moscow, Idaho, the university killings. TikTok psychic went all in based on a reading that she was asked to do. That this professor, Rebecca Scofield, was involved. Not only did she organize it, she accused her of having an affair with the student. The whole thing was arranged for another student to kill the students, to cover all of this up. I mean, the TikTok psychic went in. Anybody who watched it happening on TikTok knows what I'm talking about. She was served a C&D by Scofield, Professor Scofield, and her attorneys. She just said she was going to use it for toilet paper, and then doubled down and was doing even more TikToks on it every day, saying she was right, that her sources do not lie, her sources being her spirit guides when she does her tarot readings in her cards. And her whole argument has been she could say whatever she wants because we all just don't understand the spirit world. And there's no vehicle for her to justify anything in the court because everything hasn't come to light yet. So it's been a hot mess. Anyway, Professor Scofield's team filed for summary judgment based on all of the stuff we reported previously on the back and forth with Ashley Guillard, who's pro se, by the way, representing herself, didn't hire a lawyer. And I don't think she's really doing that bad. She speaks in legal language. She does look up cases. She got a little grace from the judge. She missed filings. She just didn't feel like responding because she was on vacation, told the judge she needed time for herself. The judge gave her a little bit of pass and extended her filing dates a few times, but I think that's over with because now there has been a summary judgment in the case, which means it just needs to go to trial for the amount. Okay. The judge has ruled that the plaintiff, Rebecca Scofield, has proven her case with enough information in her filings And that, unfortunately, Ashley Guillard has not defended it well enough by just saying, you don't understand how it is because I'm using my sources, which you don't understand my sources. My sources don't lie. You just don't have any of the truth yet because it hasn't come out. And she has repeated that. She doubles down that what she's saying is true. She's doubles down and saying that even though the sheriff's department came out and said Rebecca Scofield was not even a person of interest, that she is completely cleared, nothing to do with it. She wasn't even in the area. She had no classes with these students. There's no provable link anywhere. Even in discovery, when Ashley Guillard requested from the university all of the messages and any correspondence that the professor may have had with the 4 victims in this case in Idaho 4, they don't have any communications whatsoever, deleted or otherwise. Zippo, nothing. She's never come in contact with them. Unfortunately for the TikTok sidekick, Ashley Guillard, she did not prove her part enough, and partial summary judgment went through. The judge also said that the plaintiff, Rebecca Scofield, could actually file do another brief, an amended complaint on punitive damages, because they weren't part of the summary judgment. Okay, before it goes to trial, for the jury to just decide not whether Ashley Guillard is guilty of defamation, but basically just what she'll need to pay. Now, Ashley Guillard has made some moves. She has actually filed for this. First of all, she filed a large protest against the summary judgment, and just like it's not fair, this life, you can't do this, trying to cite precedent and things like that, which really fell. But then one move that she did make is that she wants to move it from magistrate, because way back in the beginning, she did agree, along with Rebecca, that it would go to the magistrate judicial system, which is a process in civil that happens in every civil case. She agreed to it back in 2023. But when the summary judgment happened, she said, oh, hell no. Now I want a district judge. Well, because she's complaining and she has filed the motions, it's going to go to district judge now. And we are going to wait to see how they will rule on her opposition to the summary judgment, and also on the actual reapplication of the original complaint from Rebecca Scofield, charging defamation, libel, all that other stuff, and actually for punitive damages. There is a new amendment. And I have both of those records for you guys. Rather than read them on the screen, some of you do like to read them. I'll be adding them to the description after the show. But for those of you that like legal, here it is for that. There is the actual order from the district judge saying we're just sending this over. The magistrate judge is now sending it over to district judge to be assigned and reviewed as requested by Ashley. But also she filed the motion twice. And so the judge got a little persnickety and said, oh, and by the way, the second motion that you filed, which is like just asking for the same thing and just like, well, that one's denied as moot. He actually wrote the words moot. It's denied as moot. In other words, don't bog us down with the repeat stuff. Like, give us time to answer one before you go to the other. Hey, Liam, good to see you. Hey, Chester, Lord of Fools. I kind of like that name, but nice to see you here. Are you setting us up with homework? Nope, that's only if you want to read it. I'm not reading it online for you. I'm giving you just the bare bullets, but some of you request the documents. And don't be offended, because now they are watermarked. Okay, some of this stuff I actually have to pay for to get my hands on, and I really don't like to see my stuff passed around for other people to just make their own streams on it, if you know what I mean. I have no problem with members and people that are following me, reading up on this stuff. I think you should have the information, but I have to protect my reputation too. So you'll see watermarks from now on, people, on that stuff. Okay. So the judge did say that the bottom line was that the totality of the evidence, and this was the magistrate judge, by the way, revealed that there was no genuine dispute as to the material fact that the defendant defamed the plaintiff. Therefore, on the issue of liability only, plaintiff amended motion for partial summary judgment was granted. Now that happened months ago in April. Okay, or June actually. I'm sorry. Um so they're just going to keep going back and forth about this. We're going to have to wait to hear what they're going to do about it from the actual U.S. district. When it gets assigned, we'll be able to do a better update for you. But currently, that's where we're at with that. Okay, so I'm going to let you guys pick where we go next. We got 3 left. Look at that. I finished in less than 15 minutes, the first one. Booyah, booyah. So we got Alex Murdaugh's retrial appeal, Bryan Kohberger's request for change of venue in Idaho on the Idaho 4, and we have Boone's Motions, which was, I will tell you that the Boone Motions is probably the longest. You thought they were going to be watermarked with spaghetti sauce? No. I don't. Believe it or not, the only thing that I abide in when reading legal documents is my coffee, because I'm usually reading them in the morning or in a little bit in the evening. Mark says, I wouldn't blame you for dropping them in the toilet. Sometimes I feel like that. Sometimes I feel like some of them should. Like some of them are so poorly written that I do want to drop them in the toilet. Hey, Mouse. Good to see you. Okay. All right. Do you guys have a preference on whether we do Murdaugh or Kohberger next? First one to type gets it. Otherwise, you're gonna make me choose, aren't you? Yeah, you people always make me choose. All right, be that way. I will. I'll choose for you. Kohberger? Oh, 2 Kohbergers. I will do Kohberger next. Okay. Yep. All right. We all know Bryan Kohberger. We all know he's being charged with the murder of the 4 university students in 2022. We have motions right there for change of venue. Okay. And it got heated a little bit. Okay. Currently, there have been motions back and forth. Okay. These are public, so they're not watermarked. The state came forward, and then, well, they just couldn't leave it alone. The defendants came right back arguing again, and we're going to have arguments pretty soon about this. Okay, but basically, generally, the gist is that the state says, okay, in their argument, okay, that the defendant, Bryan Kohberger and his team, have failed to meet his burden of showing that a change of venue in this case is necessary or convenient. That's what the filing says. The court should decline to relocate itself, the state, and scores of witnesses hundreds of miles only to face another jury pool with similarly high media exposure. The brief was written by Bill Thompson. It was substantial. It was 22 pages. Okay. Which is long for stating basically that's in a nutshell what it is. But basically, they said that the survey that they did prove that there was prejudice in the area. But it also proved that since they didn't just focal down to just the one county, it proved that there was broad knowledge of the case, that this case is so large that all of Idaho knows about it, not just Moscow. And that they're asking to move forward, like they're talking about 400 witnesses, and they're asking for the state and everybody to have to pay to move people that far away, to have hotels, to make an unnecessary burden on the state as far as financially. when the prejudicial circumstances that appear could be handled in voir dire. They said, we're not going to find a place for you to have this trial that people don't know about this trial, that they haven't heard the name Kohberger, they haven't heard about the Idaho University killings. It's unheard. It's just not reasonable, is what they're saying. That the amount of prejudice that exists cannot be handled with just moving the venue. Okay, that's the state's line on it, basically, from everything that I read. You guys come up with anything different, please comment to me. But basically, I read 22 pages, and a lot of it was, case law and all of that. But basically, that's all that they were saying was that it is a unprecedented. It is, although would be beneficial to the defense, it is not beneficial to the state prosecution and the people who are paying for it in general. Okay, so basically that was his thing. Now the defense says, and Eliza Massoff, not Ann Tyler, wrote this one. She said that there's a mob mentality within the Moscow community about Kohberger's possible culpability. Okay, they're saying that, well, they're already convicting him as guilty in their minds. The traumatized town of Moscow is understandably filled with deeply held prejudgment opinions of guilt. Latah County mob mentality will never produce a jury pool that results in a cross-section of the community. It is very contentious there. It is. But this actually, that contention kind of overflowed into other counties. So although it's a very valid point, and I don't blame the defense for coming back hard on it, because Moscow is really still under distress. There was just recently more interviews by the families. Everyone sees them. Everybody wants justice, The Latah mob is coming for you. That's right, Liam. You gotta look out for that Latah County mob. And I don't mean to make light, because they want their justice, and I really feel for the families. They have to go through this all the time. The university students, everyone that knew them, all their friends, their family, even if you just live there and you know what's going on, this is a hot issue talked about everywhere. Every coffee shop, every gas station, every park, every venue you can possibly go to. But the state is challenging and saying, show me that they're not talking to it elsewhere. You did a very limited and very specialized survey. And they're calling him out too. They're saying he's so specialized in asking. He didn't bother to ask about the surrounding areas. In other words, they were so proving it was hot here, they don't want to prove that it's also hot everywhere else too, because that wouldn't have benefited their argument. And the state is actually pointing out, if you eliminate the rest of the process, how can we go with just what you gave us? So if you're going to narrow your survey to just right there, well, if that's all you give us, then we don't know. I'm pretty sure you're not going to be able to find a good venue anywhere. We might as well stay here and save the state some money. Save the taxpayers some money, get justice. Is it justice to make us pay for more? Now, I want him to have a fair trial. And I do see that it's going to be pretty hard to come up with a jury, I think, in most places. I mean, come on. We hear so much about so many of these court cases. It's pretty hard to get a jury that hasn't heard about something. But that's what voir dire is for, to see how much prejudice you actually have towards the information that you've received and how much information you've actually heard. In 2024, it is unreasonable for defense teams everywhere to think that these public cases, there's not going to be some knowledge about them out there in the areas that they are having their jury trials. It's just not going to be that way. You've got to use voir dire, and you're questioning to actually expose the bias, and you got to be good about it. And that's what the system is all about. I mean, for centuries, we have had crime happen and prosecuted in the area where it happened over and over again. Heinous crimes, murders, serial killers, child molesters, rapists, okay, mass murders, okay, violent offenses. and they are tried in county and state courts right where they happen all the time. And everybody knows about them. Even before the internet, there was the newspaper in public record. When you got arrested, it was in the newspaper once a week. They lined everybody up. And the biggest cases got full page 3, page 3, page 6, page 7, full articles. Okay. Exactly, Mousy. So I actually was kind of happy to see. Um, yep, yep. With the internet, how can you stop the spread of information, real or fake? Exact. Anyone who is sufficiently motivated could make the new jury pool prejudicial. Exactly, Liam. Exactly. But with social media, anyone could make any case widely known about it. So no one could never make a change of venue on those grounds. True. They have to prove extraordinary prejudice. And I think the defense did a pretty good job, but they left this little loophole for the state to come back, which is my point. I really think the defense did a good job of proving that I'm actually for moving the venue. I actually think that would prevent an appeal on venue, which if the judge does go forward and doesn't grant the change of venue, I could see a huge appeal happening here just on that issue. How could he possibly get a fair trial when just the mention of his name causes people to throw things in LaSalle County? I mean, come on. I understand the issue there. I get it. But they did leave that loophole, and the defense. The call doesn't meet the standard set in court. Exactly. Exactly. I get it. It does sound ridiculous, doesn't it, Jasper? But, some of these things do. Hello, Record. It is a catch-22, Liam. We need to provide a fair trial for the defending and yet balance the needs of the people, the taxpayers who are prosecuting said defending for this crime. How much should they have to take it on the chin also? And that's where the judge comes in. It's going to be up to him to weigh it out fairly. And I make y'all a nickel bet. I see it leaning towards the defense on this one. I do see a change of venue on the agenda. Well, I do, but we're going to find out. We're going to find out. We are, because on August 29th, we're going to have a change of hearing venue. A change of venue hearing. I'm trying to get that out in like one sentence. Not good. Not good. Okay. So these are the status. This is the status in regards to Kohberger is the state of Idaho versus Bryan Kohberger. Yep. So we've got a status for change of venue. They'll listen to the oral arguments. The judge already has both sides. I think that's why the defense hammered back right away on the state within a day to get that motion in there. So the judge had plenty of time to read it and read the case laws and look at everything, because they do all of that in the writings, all of the briefs and the motions before they go to oral arguments. That's when they get to stand before the judge and say, this is what we want, this is how we feel, and this is the pushback. And the judge has already looked at the case law and everything, so he pretty much just wants to hear if they have anything new. So we're going to find out August 29th if actually Judge John Judge, does his actual ruling, or Judge John. Anyway, if he does his ruling on August 29th, we'll know. Otherwise, we'll just hear the oral arguments. Kohberger's hearings have been, we have been able to listen, so we'll see. All right. The deadline for state's evidence is coming up quickly, too, on September 6th. Okay. We have another hearing scheduled November 7th. That's the death penalty hearing. Okay. And motions are still being filed on that for and against, of course. All right. And then in January, we've got the deadline for the defense's evidence and witness list, discovery. Our final status conference isn't until April 3rd of 2025, but we do have a trial date for June 2nd of 2025 for the Kohberger case. So we're at least on the docket with our judge. And as you'll see, he did schedule quite a bit of time, almost 3 months of trial. It is a long time to sit in prison if you're innocent. It really, I do agree, Mouse. It's a long time. And he's going to have to sit there, until the trial. Hot take. If we built studios at every courthouse, we could do cyber trials, and a change of venue wouldn't require moving everyone and paying for hotels. Yeah. Oh, and you know what? You know what I like about this? Because I'm reading it, and even though you didn't say it in there and it has nothing to do with it, I immediately went to, and oh my God, the audio feeds would be so much better. Because I've really been having a complaint with the audio feeds lately, especially in Boone. Like I can't hear her. But now they've moved her to a table, so it should be better. That was an objection against my call. Okay, I'll take it, Jester. You're allowed to object. Yeah, they don't. It depends. But some of the places that they suggested were 400 miles away. And that's the problem, Liam. Some of the places that were suggested by the defense are 400 miles away from the witnesses and everyone involved. The law enforcement officers, everybody, the CSIs, everybody that has to testify for the state is in Latau County. And they were looking at a place 400 miles away. And that does involve hotels and stuff, like, unfortunately. Yeah. Especially if it's multiple day. They don't know the days. It's just going to make just going to make a mess. It really is. All right. So let me just take this down for a minute. Any questions now? There is a need to make the jury feel safe and also a need to keep tabs on them. Yes, especially in this case. We have seen this more and more. It will go. That kind of leads right into the next one here. Liam, excellent. Yeah, because you need to have the jury to feel safe and secure in their decision-making process, their privacy, all of that, and that they can do an excellent job, that they want to do and feel comfortable doing it. It's an issue. And I do think keep tabs on the jury is going to be really important, along with some of the court people. Which brings us to, look at us. We're on the third one within 30 minutes. Oh my gosh, we might actually be doing a good job here today, like as far as like coverage. How do you sequester a jury? Wait, let me put this up. How do you sequester a jury with cyber trials? Because I'd end up playing Candy Crush when I got bored. I'm sure they'd have somebody in the room with you, and I'm sure you wouldn't be allowed to have your phone. And matter of fact, Mousy, I would absolutely say that you weren't allowed to have your phone. Maybe they would just bring the jury all to one place and just let everybody else testify by, maybe there'd be a compromise. The jury and the judge would be in one place and everybody else would just testify remotely. Like put the defendant and his attorneys and the state there and the jury and the judge all in one place, wherever it be, with nobody else there but cameras in the room. Like you don't have people coming in, nothing like that. And then you just let all the witnesses get come in by Zoom. I don't know, kind of weird. But actually I would prefer it all like he said, like all in one place, like everybody's in there in a control room kind of thing. Control that audio. Like don't make the audio worse, please. Yes, they would. You know what, Mousy? That's like a given, right? I mean, you don't follow the rules. All right. Guess what I got next? Gee, anybody recognize him? Oh God. Yeah. Okay. Let's go back for those of us who weren't here last year. This is disgraced South Carolina attorney Alex Murdaugh, who was found guilty of the murder of his wife and son in 2023. And there's been a lot of speculation. He was sentenced guilty by one of our favorite judges, Judge Newman, of 2 counts of murder and 2 weapons-related charges. Okay. He was sentenced to life in prison. Okay. Several months later, he and his attorneys, Jim Griffin and Dick Harpootlian, appealed for a retrial, accusing the court clerk, Becky Hill, everyone should know that name by now, of prejudicing and influencing the jury during the trial. She was accused of making statements like, don't be fooled by Murdaugh, watch what he does, don't listen to what he says, things like that. They also provided evidence that she was giving out business cards. She was pressuring the jurors to reach a guilty verdict. Among other things, Hill has denied tampering the jury. Now, we did, in the beginning of the year, have an actual 3-day hearing with Judge Toll on the evidence presented by the defense in regards to Becky Hill, and all the jury members were interviewed openly and asked questions by Judge Toll, okay, on whether or not this happened. And they admitted there were some statements made, but the majority, except for one juror, said that it did not affect their verdict, that it was not inconsequential, so to speak. Well, is it against the rules? Absolutely. And the South Carolina officials have reportedly filed 76 counts of ethics violations against the county clerk, Becky Hill, just last year, including her of being biased against Murdaugh because of the book she was publishing and getting pictures taken of him against the rules, all kinds of things. They even got her for some moving around of funds that was kind of sketchy, okay? Murdaugh's bid for this new trial was denied by Judge Toll's trial court hearing in January. And the judge said that she was not sure if Hill was telling the truth when she said she didn't speak to the jury about the case, because Becky Hill actually did testify during that particular trial, mini hearing actually that we had. And she said she didn't, and the judge didn't really believe her. But she did think that it actually wasn't enough to actually overturn a verdict and give a new trial. Okay. So that's where they left it. Since then, okay, and this is in the pleadings, okay, here, okay. So the South Carolina State Supreme Court has agreed to hear this appeal, because rather than leave it with the regular county court appeal, it was put in there. They did request a hearing. The hearing was done, which was their right, and Judge Toll said denied. Okay, they first submitted an appeal for a retrial and overturn of the verdict through the regular court system for the state, but they then pulled that back and asked the South Carolina Supreme Court. They wanted to jump over the appeal process. They went right to the Supreme Court because they said it was an egregious error. Okay, and the Supreme Court has agreed to hear arguments. Okay, and this was filed on August 13th. The Supreme Court decided that of South Carolina decided they would hear the appeal, and they gave them 30 days to file their briefs before they set up like oral arguments, which rumor has it could be before the end of the year, in December or in January at the latest, which would be pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. Basically, this is what the filing that Dick Harpootlian and Jim Griffin put out. The trial court, aka Judge Toll, abused its discretion when finding that the jury's verdict was not affected by Miss Hill's tampering, despite a juror's uncontradicted testimony that her verdict was affected, because that one verdict said she actually felt like he was guilty because of what everybody was saying. She said that on the stand. The one did. Murdaugh's lawyers wrote in the appeal that the trial court erred when it held that deliberate jury tampering by a state official seeking a guilty verdict was harmless, because In its opinion, the correct verdict was rendered regardless. Yeah, they wrote that. They're actually calling out the judges, both Newman and Toll, not doing anything because they actually agree he's guilty. And so, well, why should he get another trial? It does look a little biased. They are trying to lean it that way. And I think this is the reason that the Supreme Court has decided to hear it. Okay. Questions. that's let me put that up. Yeah. Yeah, he could be breaking rocks in Noonday Sun. Yes, he could. Yes, he could. Mm-hmm. Actually, a controversial acquittal in regards to her book would have actually sold more. I do believe. And actually, she's not making a dime on it. There was so much controversy that her ghostwriter pulled it down. Publishers pulled it down. She's not making anything. Becky Hill was definitely, as Judge Toll said in her actual order after the mini trial in judgment, she did say that Becky Hill was obviously a court clerk who was tainted by her desire for 15 minutes of fame. And that she saw that golden goose egg of money and opportunity and did the wrong thing at every turn. Like she did really call her out. She is not a fan of the actual court clerk. However, she did not see that it was worth the expense of a whole new trial based on them coming to a reasonable conclusion that she said the evidence was there. And she didn't, the majority said no. But here's the thing. Case law depicts, and so does the law state, that if even one jury member was tainted in a verdict, perhaps we should get another trial. A judge thinking that the jury decision should not be overturned lightly is not a bad thing. And that's right. And she was a well-educated judge. She'd been around a long time. She's semi-retired and does this stuff now. And you know what? I agree with you. And I agreed with her. She did not look at it lightly. She interviewed every single jury member, asked them very specific questions, the same questions over and over again. The only ones who said that they were really influenced was someone who was an alternate who has sour grapes because she really believes Becky Hill removed her because she thought he wasn't guilty. She thinks that Becky Hill sabotaged her and removed her from the jury. I mean, that's what she's going around telling everybody. And she went to the defense team to argue about that. And then there's this one other one who said that she actually was made to feel that perhaps he was guilty because of the way the court clerk was acting about it. And if she felt that way, fine. I do think that that's enough based on precedent to get a new trial. Judge Toll didn't, based on her experience. So she's got a hell of a lot more experience in this than I do. I just think that the case laws and the ones that were listed by Harpootlian and Griffin actually do stand up. And I think that's why the Supreme Court is going to look at it. And, well, we just might have to do this again, everyone. And let's see, do you think they'll let it be public this time after everything that happened last time? And will the financial information come in again? I mean, granted, his testimony and him lying on the stand, that will come in definitely. They will be able to impeach him based on his prior testimony. But it would be a battle back and forth. It would open up the opportunity for the defense to keep some things out. Let's see. It is such a huge, dumb error. I agree. It should not have happened. It should not have happened. Becky Hill really just threw a monkey wrench into the whole thing. I mean, we thought this was done and dusted. And so did the court system until all of this with Becky Hill. It is very unfortunate that someone voted into office that way, thought so little of the system in being honorable and taking their commission as court clerk seriously. I mean, they really did an awful, awful job of doing a good job. 76 counts against Becky Hill. Yes. Okay. But I mean, she might actually be going up towards like Alex Murdaugh with the financial, because wasn't that at a total of 110 in the 110 or so? Yeah. Mm. I mean, even if for any other reason he gets a new trial and he gets acquitted, he's still in jail for the rest of his natural life based on the actual sentencing of the financial crimes that he have. He just might be in a better prison, but he's not getting out. Well, he's fighting against this murder convict, and he has all along. He said he was guilty of everything else, but he didn't murder the two of them. But he also said that he wasn't there, and there's video that proves he was. So that's going to be a big hurdle to kind of go over. Uh, I don't know if he's going to make it, but I can tell you this: if he's live, guess where we're all going to be? Mm-hmm. You know where we're all going to be. Who doesn't want to go and see them again? You know? And do you think he'll actually let Harpootlian defend him in court again when he was falling asleep? You think so? I mean, maybe Jim Griffin. I mean, he at least stayed awake during most of it. Well, we did have some fun making fun of Harpo, didn't we? But we know that Harpootlian would try to pry open the tiniest gap in order to try and get another retrial. Yes, but you see, he's not running for office this time. So does he really want to ruin his reputation again publicly? I'm not sure. And is Alex Murdaugh going to go with it? And who's going to pay them? Because they won't let him sell anything else to pay for the lawyers. Mm-mm. Everything's going to the victims, remember? Yeah. Not even in a book that she wrote, and they actually caught her plagiarizing the introduction, which was the only words she actually wrote, because she had a ghostwriter that worked with her, and got it published and everything with the publishing company and stuff like that. And the introduction that she did, the foreword, was actually copied from an article on the trial, almost word for word. And she was busted in it. And this is why the ghostwriter said, "Oh, hell no, I don't want to be associated with this." Pulled it down, returned money, not for sale anymore. Like, forget it. Like, forget it. No more printings. Like, they're out. They were just like out. They walked away. They did a big article and statement. It was something. But I agree with you, Liam. Harpootlian did do a good job looking for loopholes. We heard about these loopholes from the beginning. We were hearing murmurs about them talking to jury members and stuff like that. Remember, they filed affidavits with the court based on what jurors told them, but none of the jurors signed the affidavits except for the ones who actually didn't get to sit on verdict, which would be juror 785, if I recall from memory, the egg lady who, Becky Hill brought the Facebook posting that supposedly was talking to her husband about the case and yada, yada. And Judge Newman told that juror, remember, that they did nothing wrong, but on the actual look of it, and to actually prevent any improprieties or any look of impropriety, he was going to remove her from the jury. But he did not see enough evidence that she actually did anything wrong. But there was all this speculation and conversation going on about it. It was best to remove her so that Merdaugh got a fair trial. And I don't blame him. And I don't blame him. Oh, guess what time it is, guys? Yeah. It's gonna go all the way back to the beginning. Ay. It's sainted judge time. But before we leave Murdaugh, Liam says he is 100% guilty and should not get another chance to try stealing more money from the taxpayers. True. That is a bone of contention for the state. He's already caused so much damage. And all. And will he be as indigent using a public defender? Are Griffin and Harpootlian going to volunteer their time, for more fame? I mean, Jim Griffin's got that failed podcast, and Harpootlian just got kicked out of office. He didn't he lose his rebid for office, like senator, some kind of official. Yeah, it didn't pan out the way they thought. But you know how South Carolina works. Who knows what kind of money they're making on the private deals? You know, I don't know. Well, you listen, Murdaugh stole from his partners, every lawyer involved, every partner, family members, every client. He stole from everybody. I would think that representing him is not actually going to give anyone a golden ticket to anything, except for those that truly believe that justice is for everyone and that even the most guilty, no matter how you feel, client deserves fair and equitable representation in the court in a fair trial. Best defense, you know? I get it, I get it, Liam. I do. Although I do miss him. Creighton Waters was energetic and he was like a little firecracker. Like, I do miss it. I miss Judge Newman, but I know we wouldn't have Judge Newman. And I don't even know if we would have Creighton Waters, or even if we'll have Hart Pulliam and Jim Griffin. All I know is the one player will be Alex Murdaugh. Who knows who else will be there? It will be a whole new game, And who knows where? How are you going to find a new jury where you've got a conviction in that county? Where are we moving it to? We're going to have venue issues. I mean, just getting to the retrial, if they do approve a retrial, just getting there is going to be one hell of a hearing show for all of us as we watch. I would anticipate it not going off for another 2 years. Yep. He did have expensive representation. He had some of the best, but the evidence was against him. It surely was. It surely was. And that is one of the other bones of contention in the retrial request, is that Judge Newman never should allow the financial information in, but he did based on state of mind. It was applicable based on why would he kill his family? To cover up his misdeeds. He didn't want them to know. And I did do a conversation with Luke, Bearded Heretic, on the killings on Patriot side and Familia side, and how a father figure who has great love for his family members is looking for their admiration, and they look up to him, and he had great relationship with his son and with his wife. And that this information was going to come out, and how that would destroy that, and how he couldn't bear it. It is possible, because we did talk about it for quite some time. It's in library chats. It's really interesting. I think I also listed it in the Merdaugh trial playlist on the channel, that you can find it if you're interested, because it was very interested as to why he would do it. But let's get on to Boone now for at least like 30 minutes or so. Y'all ready? All right, buckle up, buttercups, because here comes Sarah. Boo Boo was busy. I did not get to actually put the hearing out. First of all, the audio was really bad. Second, it was all done in pieces with people. So it was really hard to get the whole thing. But I did watch the whole thing on my community tab as it was going on. I was updating everybody because I wasn't streaming at the time regularly. I was on my mini break. But we did keep on top of it. And boy, oh boy, was it lit. So let's go through some of the things that happened. First of all, here's our saint of a judge, Judge Michael Kranick, who now has really shown me how to deal with complex personalities and people who just want to take control of the situation. This man's use of his language skills is perfection. We should all just take notes. Not only is he a saint with his patients, but his ability to keep Sarah Boone on task, on control, make her feel heard, but still slap her back like, no, girl, that ain't so. It's brilliant. I'm totally enjoying his style. I think he's amazing. He's got one of the most difficult jobs right now in keeping this all equal and dealing with someone with Sarah Boone and trying to get this trial to actually happen in October as scheduled, and still not have anything overturned. Because, have y'all noticed how good Sarah Boone is with buzzwords like my constitutional rights, prejudicial treatment, I'm being harassed, I have no privacy, I'm being held accountable for things I didn't do. I mean, she's got all the buzzwords there. She wants to have some kind of civil rights thing going on for her. But this trial will prove to you that she has been very busy in her 4.5 years in Orange County State Prison. And she's not made the kind of friends she thinks she did. Although friends did come up in a very odd way. And I can't wait to tell you about that part. Because, man, did that blow me away. All right. So we all agree that Judge Michael Cranick deserves all our respect, admiration, and throw some positive vibes. And if you pray prayers his way, just for him to be able to keep doing this and get through this trial. Man, is he doing a great job. So the first thing that happened was we had a hearing. It was scheduled and she was told about it, Sarah Boone, on April 9th, that they were coming back on August 14th to address her oral motion that she wanted privacy for the looking of the evidence. Like the state offered her to look at all the evidence, handle it, tug it, just like an attorney would, because she didn't get to. They wanted to make special arrangements. The judge thought it was reasonable that she should be able to look at it because she's so far behind. They were going to have this thing. They had until September 3rd, which is a hearing date, was set up. But Sarah verbally, orally, to the judge right there on the 9th said, I object to that being open to the public. I don't want that open to the public. That violates my privacy rights. I don't think they should be able to watch me looking at the evidence or to see all the evidence and whatever. She made that motion orally. And on the 9th, the judge said, fine, I agree with you. File your motion as to why you think so, and we will have a hearing on it and hear your oral arguments, everyone's oral arguments on the 14th. I opened the motions to all. And so several news organizations filed and said why they objected, that anything that happens in that courtroom should be public under Florida law, which pretty much is the truth, because normally an attorney would go to the state prosecutor's office to look at this evidence and everything. It wouldn't be done in the courtroom. They wouldn't have to make special arrangements because the defendant is pro se and not able to leave the jail and can only go to the court. Okay. So they're trying to find a way out. So he told her all about this hearing. She shows up on the 14th and says, this is so unfair. I'm unprepared. I didn't know we were having a hearing on this. And Judge Cranick very politely and nicely kind of like put his hand up and went, yo, we talked about this on the 9th. You're the one who had privacy issues about this. This whole hearing is because you objected to it being open, as is your right. And so just say you didn't file anything, but, several news organizations did. Long and short of it, she didn't really have much to say. She rambled on about privacy and people knowing what she eats and blah, 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 all the public records in the court, which are public records in the court. She doesn't want people to know we're visiting. She doesn't want people to know. She's really upset that they keep such good records that they know every time she denied to go anywhere, every time she refuses to eat or take a shower or do what she's supposed to do. She's really annoyed that that's public record because it keeps getting used against her now that she's pro se when she says she's totally cooperating with everything they ask her, as it was in the Cup hearing when they said there were 3 times you absolutely refused to come to court, even though we told you it would be contempt. And she actually challenged them and wants all the court records because it was more important for her to be right than to actually win the argument. Now, the judge did let her win the argument, and she will not have cuffs on, but we'll get to that. Right now, court, if another meeting doesn't happen with state prosecutors, with Sarah Boone and the evidence, September 3rd's hearing will be open to the court, as is all other proceedings so far. He denied Sarah's oral motion to keep everything private and keep it under seal. Done in order, it will be public. End of story. However, on that, okay, The prosecutors offered a solution to privacy, the evidence review. What they said that is they will try to make arrangements for the Billy Lane, who is from Prison Break Investigations, who's been assigned and paid for by the JAC for Sarah Boone. So she does have outside help. Let's be really clear. She doesn't have an attorney. She has to be pro se. But she's better off than most pro se inmates because she has an outside representative, Billy Lane, who has bent over backwards to work with the court and meet with Sarah on this stuff. He knows he's getting paid for it. He's trying to resolve. Everybody wants justice here. They're trying to be as fair as possible. So the prosecutors, during the hearing of August 14th, said to the judge, listen, we might have a solution. If we can do something via Zoom or anything with Sarah, with the evidence, with the CSI there touching it, Billy Lane there was a witness and whatever. If we can't get Sarah from the prison to the office, or we can't get there with it, we'll try to settle it off camera that way privately before it has to come to court on September 3rd. Now, they have a couple of weeks to accomplish that. And if they do, then the September 3rd hearing will be canceled. Viewing will be canceled. Okay. The judge set that date and he will not remove it because he does not want Sarah to have any issues with appeal on not being able to get to look at that evidence. He doesn't want this coming up later. Okay. And I understand why he's not moving that September 3rd. So prosecution needs to get with Sarah, the prison, Billy Lane investigators. They're trying to work something out so it doesn't have to be on camera. Because otherwise, we're all going to get to see everything the state has on Sarah Boone on September 3rd. The physical evidence. This is where, the CSI will bring it out of the bag, show her, whatever. They can make notes, whatever. She will know what she's dealing with when she gets to court. And I'm all for it because that's fair, right? That's fair. Wouldn't you agree, guys? And I think the prosecution is jumping through hoops because they also don't want a mistrial. They also don't want to appeal. They also just want to get this done in October. They've put in enough time. They really have. Everybody has. Okay. So let's go on. Now, this was motions that were actually put forward to the judge. These are the ones he had to handle. The other one that the judge had to handle was with the attire for the stun cuff at the court appearance. Now, on August 9th, she was informed that, she won her motion. She will not have handcuffs on or leg shackles. They opted to use a stun cuff, okay, and she was told that it would be on her leg. But when the liaison from the State Department on providing her clothing attire for her court appearance, Sarah requested she only wanted to wear a skirt. So the liaison reported that to the court, and the judge kindly addressed Sarah. Do you realize that when you stand up, or you coming and going, the jury will see your stun cuff? You're kind of I guess he was trying to get her to realize that she's eliminating the vagueness of it. They don't know it's there, but they won't see it. They're eliminating the prejudicial notion that she's shackled and giving her best shot, but she only wants to wear a skirt. And she said, well, then they can just move it. And he said, no, Miss Boone, we clearly told you where it would be. They identified the whole process to you. It will only be on your lower leg. They're not going to move it anywhere else. You were told the process. And then here's the problem. She's still insisting on a skirt. So the judge asked the liaison to speak and tell her on the record in court what was available for her to wear. And the liaison said, currently for all prisoners that we need to provide attire for, in her size requirements, we only have several blouses, this many pants, and one dress. Period. Now, the reason I bring that up is Judge Kranig, again, getting it on the record that Sarah's been told. Sarah pretends she doesn't hear what she doesn't want to hear. Sarah only hears her affirmations. She already thinks what the answer should be. And when she hears that, she'll move on. But until she hears that, she just stays there. she's still arguing that she's not pro se because nobody will agree with her. She still, every chance she gets, says, I didn't want to be pro se. That's your judgment. That's your error. You made me pro se. This is all your fault. Like, oh yeah, to the judge, to his face. Not actually a good idea, Sarah. Like, there's plenty of evidence that this is your fault. Okay, listen. She got attorney. Mauricio Podillo stayed with her almost 2 years, and he did incredible work. He was actually going to use this whole media thing, and that he was actually going with the whole thing that this isn't a crime, this is a tragedy. And when you think about it, some of us could actually go there. Remember in the beginning when we were like, she was drunk, she was beat, like there must be something more here. We were kind of on Sarah's side a little bit. We thought she was overcharged. I admit it. I'll hold up my hand. I seriously did put statements out here on my streams. You can go back and look at my Sarah Boone coverage. I was right on the side that manslaughter would have been more appropriate, that he died because, well, Sarah being stupid, okay, or Sarah being inebriated, or Sarah just like, this whole thing, the two of them just being a dumb idea, somebody died. That's more like manslaughter. But then when she kept changing her story and more evidence came out of the interviews, and the more she kept pushing back, like she didn't do anything and she don't even care that George Torres is dead. You could hear that in the 911 call. But, I digress. Listen, this judge is doing an excellent job of showing that the process can be handled appropriately. Sarah just doesn't want it to be. He's showing that everybody is bending over backwards to get her what she needs. But that's not good enough for Sarah unless she gets what she wants. She literally wants to be treated different than everybody else. And that just can't happen. Not in the prison system anyway, as we'll show you with the rest of our motions. Okay. Remember the letter. And I think I do have the letter here for you. Do I have the letter? I do. Do I? Oh, I did. Where did it go? Oh, here it is. Here is. This one's not watermarked because it's everywhere. I'm hoping that this goes through. If not, it'll be in the Discord, okay? Oh, it's not going to. It's too long. It won't go through. All right, so I'll have to send it to you later. But anyway, Sarah did her motions in a handwritten letter that we showed you last time, and the links are probably in the last one that we did on Sarah Boone. And we're going to go over them one. The first thing she asked for was additional laptop time. She was currently getting her laptop Monday through Sunday, 8 o'clock to 4:30. And records, which the court put on file, that the prison now has to send them a weekly report on what Sarah's getting as far as laptop time, how she's complying, she's getting access. He's documenting that she has access to everything. He's doing a really good job. And he wants the prison to actually give him a report every week. And the first report did show, well, a few things, like she's not getting it at exactly 8 o'clock. That may not be her fault. It could be, availability of the actual, guards, who's available to get her what and when. And then, usually if she got it a little late, she kept it a little late because it was supposed to be 8 to 4:30 and she was returning it early or not getting it and all kinds of things. She could have had other things going on. But anyway, she asked for additional time and the prison said, okay. They actually gave her more time than she asked for. She asked for 4:30 to 10, an additional 2.5 hours. She now has 8 to 10 and 8 to 11. On Friday and Saturday, she even gets an extra hour. She does have to stop for her dinner breaks and all because she's not allowed to eat, like in the dorm, because she's in a dorm suite. I want you to understand, she's not in a private cell with like 2 people. She's in like a suite, like a dorm of 16 other inmates. And she's got an area that she can keep things in, like, and that's it. She's got a drawer and a small area aside to her. And that's going to become important as we go over some of these, that you understand where she's actually being held. In the state prison where she is, it's a women's dorm. Now, they granted this. They thought it was reasonable. No problem. The second one, however, which is this one she got, okay? And she deserves more time. I mean, she's not doing anything anyway. I mean, she deserved more time. I can agree with them on this. It didn't hurt anybody. It didn't cost anybody anything. However, she made a long dissertation in regards to the USB drive security because she didn't like that they were the ones taking them out of the bags. They were the one putting them in. She wanted to be able to keep all of the drives herself in her drawer, which she already in previous letters to the judge stated she has no privacy in this dorm. And that's why she didn't want to talk with Patricia Cashman about the evidence and stuff, because like people might be listening or whatever. Like when it was to her convenience, there's no privacy in the dorm. But all of a sudden she's pro se. She wants everything in the dorm with her, totally, like without being locked up or anything right there. Those drawers don't lock. She wants to keep the USBs with all of her evidence on it, her private evidence for her case, in her drawer next to her cot in the dorm with 16 other women. Well, anyway, I saw issues with this anyway, because you're not allowed to have, you can't have an alarm clock that plugs into the wall. No cords, no electronics, no batteries, nothing metal. We've got people in prison making weapons out of soap. Where did Sarah actually think they were going to give her metal? They were going to give her USB. But now, granted, the USB drive as a weapon, well, you'd have to be one of those really talented people that could take your eye out with anything, which you could. I mean, you could. Anyway, denied for prison safety protocols. And thank God they did, because Sarah's really pushing it. She wants this because, and I kind of see where she's coming from. For her, this is the most important thing in the world. This is her freedom. This is her life. I get it. She's in a prison with over 300 other women, and her rights are no more than anyone else there. And she needs to get a clue about that. Okay? She is not being held up in a hotel somewhere, able to do whatever she wants and do her case. She's in prison. She's in prison. She is an inmate of Orange County State Prison. An inmate, and has only the rights that inmates get. But not Sarah. Sarah Boone doesn't consider herself an inmate for some reason. Oh, where did this one go? Okay, this was the classroom. I don't know where the image went to, but anyway, she had asked to use this classroom where, they can have meetings and stuff like that. The classroom is used by all the prisoners. It's used by the religious officials that come to hold prayer. It's used for educational purposes. It's used for larger meetings. It's used by all the prisoners. And Sarah wanted to be able to use it every day because the guards could see her there. But because she would need the laptop and everything, she would need somebody there. They wouldn't be able to keep people coming and going. They said, nope, denied, because that is free use for everybody. We can't allow you to have special privilege use of it without denying the use to others. And Sarah tried to push back in it that, I understand people would have to use it and we could come to accommodations. And the prison just felt that was unreasonable. Trying to deal with Sarah pushing on the schedule was something they weren't going to go to, and I don't blame them. Can you just imagine having to deal with her every day on why she's more important than the 16 people that wanted to study something that was being offered, some seminar in the classroom for inmates? Or some religious service, on why it should be her and not them, because that's what it would be like every day. I could just see that. All right. The next one she wanted was earphones and headphones so that she could listen to the actual audios and videos without everybody else hearing it. This is the problem of being in the dorm. But no, that would also be a special privilege. They're forbidden in the jail. Oh, they are forbidden in the dorm that she's in. To allow her that would give her special privileges over and above every other inmate in the facility. That sets a bad precedent. And they're not going to do it. Nope. You wanted all your evidence. You're going to have to actually listen to it when you can. I want to go back to the classroom for 1 second. They did agree that she should have a private area with the earphones and the classroom and all this stuff she's asking for. Here's what the head official, Captain Giancani, I think it was, the captain of the protocols and everything there for this women dorm, said, I can offer this inmate a private cell in another dorm where she will not lose any of her privileges. And they were very clear to say this. They said if she wouldn't lose dinner privileges, shower, going out for recreation, any of the other times, that would all stay the same. She'd just be in a different dorm where she gets a private cell to keep all of her stuff, which was going to come up later about the boxes and the security, where no one else, it would be a little more secure for her to play her stuff and look at her evidence without worrying about people looking over her shoulder constantly or hearing what she's doing. And Sarah said that wasn't acceptable because she didn't want to be separated from her friends. Okay, don't fall over, people. I actually had to say that with a straight face because that's a direct quote. It would be unfair to separate her from her friends. She has built relationships with people there, and she doesn't want to lose them. They offered her a reasonable solution to what she was asking for, and she doesn't want to move. She doesn't want to compromise at all. They reiterated again that she wouldn't lose any privileges. It would just be her space would be larger and more quiet and away from everybody else. But that wasn't good enough because that actually would be sufficient. She wanted what she wanted. And now she just ended up with it all being denied because she wasn't willing to negotiate with them. I have to actually give credit to the captain and the security officer that were actually there. They brought the attorney for the Orange County State Prison. Attorney Chevenel was there, who clearly had to have his say towards the end of this. All of this denying of special privileges comes from his statement to the court that in order to do what Sarah Boone wants, we have to deny the rights of the 300 other prisoners here. And, well, that's just not how it goes. We can't violate their rights to give Sarah what she wants. And what she's asking for is unreasonable. This isn't our fault. She's in this situation due to her own actions. And she's going to have to deal with it. Yeah, he put it on record. Yes, he did. Anyway, she wanted internet. And again, no, Sarah, special privilege denied. The other inmates don't get it. Why do you? She wants a word processing program because it's too difficult for her to take notes. She wants to document and record for future reference and sharing with other team members. Her team is her and her investigator, and she has no way to communicate with her investigator except for through the court or writing or when he comes for a visit because he is now on the thing. Because before that, she didn't even allow the visitations. Okay, and I'm going to get to that, like about her visitations, because Sarah is not actually doing things in her best interest. Let's just say that. All right. So Attorney Chevenel for the Orange County Prison, he actually discussed the fact that to give Sarah what she wants would violate the rights of another. And he also reminded Sarah that she's pro se. And she says, well, being pro se, I deserve these extra privileges. He goes, no. You know what pro se inmates get in Orange County Prison? They get extra pen and pencils and maybe some stamps and envelopes. That's it. Every other pro se inmate in their system got none of this. Oh, he shut her down. And she was just like, well, I want to know what a pro se person can ask for. You need to send me your protocol, but whatever on that. Because she got very excited when the JAC sent her a 151-page packet on how to file motions if she was representing herself. She wants the Orange County Prison to send her a step-by-step process on how she should function as pro se within their system. But they don't have one, and they've never needed one. They were going to look into it a little bit, but I doubt much will come of it. I think it might be a good idea to give it to someone who is pro se. So these kind of motions and this kind of effort that we're all having to put out to have the hearings and handle these motions, it would probably stop it, you know. Maybe not stop a person like Sarah Boone, but there we go. Sarah Boone didn't always write all these letters. She didn't really present herself like this until 2022, 2 years after. It was when Mauricio Padillo decided that they had irreconcilable differences and there was an adversarial relationship towards the end that he asked to be withdrawn. And that was when her first letter hit Judge Wooten's service. Because she said she was blindsided. She had no idea they had a bad relationship. Based on what happened afterwards, I'd say that's pretty doubtful. But he did an excellent amount of work for her, a lot of work. And he seemed to be a good advocate, especially with the press. Like I said, he was doing some pretty good angles. He had me persuaded in the beginning. Sarah also asked for unrestricted telephone access. She doesn't want to have to pay for it. She wants to call when she wants. She has to call to make appointments with witnesses and this and that. Denied. Okay. And she was reminded that she has, Attorney Chevenel was very good. He actually reminded her, you do have a private investigator on the outside, more than most pro ses do. And all of that can be arranged through them. Denied. There's no reason to give you a special privilege above what we give everybody else. You're actually in a better position than everybody else with your private investigator who can do all that for you. I suggest you just organize yourself accordingly. Yeah, he said it. He said it. Now, discovery hard copies. Remember those two boxes, box A and B, that showed up in court? Billy Lane prison break investigations was assigned the project of putting them all on discs, on the USB drives rather, and getting them to the court so the court could give them to the prison to load onto the laptop for use for Sarah Boone to have access to. He did all that. He also did another USB drive when the actual affidavits of the two arresting officers were made available. And from Attorney Cashman's office, the last attorney that was allowed to leave, Patricia Cashman, when that came after the fact, it was submitted to the court. It was then documented and given to Sarah, right then and there, when they could, in the court. I think it was the 5th or the 9th. I don't know the exact date of the hearing, but it was handed to her, and it was put on USB drive so it could be added to the laptop. Billy Lane then was given the hard copies. Sarah has been putting motion forward and saying it in every hearing. I want physical paper copies. I never asked you for a laptop. Bulldinky. In several letters, she wanted access to a laptop so she could surf the internet to find out what people were saying about her, because nobody gave her her case information. She wanted a laptop. She did. She wanted access to a laptop. So based on the letter that she wrote to the judge, he got a laptop. This was the easiest way. And at the time, the only way, because as you'll hear, if you go and look at that hearing, which I think I did post a link in the actual playlist for Sarah Boone, there'll be a link to a very clear copy of the actual hearing that I listened to. If it's not there, I'll just make sure it is after the show. But you will hear them actually say that having those boxes, which she was already granted, the judge decided, okay, here, take them. The prison says you can have them. You can have them. So they arrange for them to go to the prison. The prison gives them to her. She brings them into the dorm, takes up quite a few spaces in the dorm and arguments with people around, and people actually complained that she was infringing on their space with all of her stuff. Okay, so complaints have been received. Everybody checks into it. Lo and behold, the safety part of the prison comes forward and says, Sarah can't have those boxes. It's a fire hazard. It's a safety violation. They need to be removed immediately. Sarah cannot have those cardboard boxes in the dorm. Flat out. It's a violation. We're not violating it. So they tried to come to a compromise. This is when the captain offered her some more satchels. Like she has a satchel to keep files in, which she admits she has one. And in it is all her divorce stuff. Because remember, her husband hasn't been paying alimony. He's in the process of divorcing her and getting sole custody of her child. She didn't comply. She's filing, she even wrote letters to that judge. We've covered that before. That's a whole mess. She's got all that in that thing. Well, she agreed to take that out and put it in there, but as she said, it's too much. They agreed to give her 2 other satchels. They also agreed to give her the private cell so that she wouldn't be infringing on everybody else's area. She complained. Okay. She said, but if I put the papers in there loose, I won't know what's what. And she said, well, what do you need? How are they now? Or are they in file folder? She's actually, even though she had these boxes, and they documented in the weekly report that she had them for review and she was going through everything. She tried to claim she didn't know if they were in file folders or how they were arranged. She doesn't know. She hasn't gone through it. I haven't gone through it. I haven't gone through it. I haven't gone through it. She must have said that 20 times. And lo and behold, Judge Kranick has the report from the prison. Well, what do you mean you didn't go through it? He doesn't go at her about it. I'm sure he's waiting till the next report. Because she really wants everybody to believe she just can't. She's unprepared. She doesn't know anything. And it's bull. I mean, how are you unprepared for a hearing and claim you didn't know about it when you were in the hearing where they announced it? They gave it to you because you wanted it. And you know what it's about because you brought up the motion and still deny that you knew anything about it. Like when you have to go there 5 days later and actually do it. I don't know. She only hears what she wants to hear. I don't know who she's playing to. I don't know if it's there's some serious deficiency there, or she's just actually deaf to anything that is against what she already thinks. It's insane. Anyway, they came to a compromise to where the papers, which are the actual physical evidence that she has, can be put in these fire retardant bags of some sort and kept privately for her. And that's going to have to be good. But all she did was complain about it. But they said, towards the end, they did try to get a compromise. They were like, we'll give you manila envelopes. But that conversation alone, if you go back to the hearing, was like pulling teeth with Sarah back and forth. Just about the file folders or envelopes that they would. Because remember, it's prison. If you can't have a paperclip or a staple in the papers that you're allowed in prison, what made Sarah think she could have a USB drive? I think a USB drive is much more deadly than a paperclip or paperclip pretty dead, or the staple. Because Patricia Cashman had to go through all 2 boxes and remove every staple, every paperclip, everything except for actual paper in those boxes to get them to be able to be submitted to the court to go to the prison, because she knew that they were going to go to Sarah Boone at the prison. Okay. And that was all done ahead of time. It just boggles my mind that Sarah just doesn't. The only thing I can think of is that she just doesn't actually equate herself as an inmate in the prison. She's got no sense of reality of where she actually is, right now, and what this actually means as far as the things that she's entitled to. It blows my mind. It does. It really does. I'm going to check the chat because I've been talking too long. She does deserve time to construct a case, considering she does, Mark. I actually do think she does. And I am saying she does. And they're giving her time. But she is not actually acknowledging all of the extra services they're trying to give her. I mean, why deny the privacy to actually construct your case if she really wants to construct her case? She refused because it's more about her being able to have something to moan about, possibly, because it actually is going to be better for appeal or for her to do a civil rights complaint if she can actually show that they were denying her rights, but they're not. And I think that's the point I'm trying to make. Her rights are not being denied. She is not being denied a fair trial or adequate. She was never denied adequate representation. She had 8 attorneys. The only one who denied Sarah adequate representation was Sarah Boone, not the system. And I think this judge is really trying to lay the groundwork that they've done basically all they can do. But he has to work for the people too. And it's not right to keep wasting their money, their time, because Sarah feels like she's not getting her just desserts here. If it is as easy as reading a few pamphlets, why waste money getting a law degree? Exactly. She's not going to get the representation that she could have. That's obvious. Wait, I'll write a book on how exactly to defend yourself pro se. Get a lawyer. Exactly. Or when lawyer is provided to you, how about working with them? You don't have to agree with them. You can have your points. You can want your defense the way you want it. How about working with them? I can't imagine being married to a control freak like her. I'm sure that I'd be on trial for murder in a very short time. You know what? Me too, Mark. I wouldn't even be able to live in a neighborhood with her. She is entitled to everything, of course. Everything, Liam. Over and above what everybody else wants. Now, listen, I advocate for fair and justice. I want her to get a fair trial. Matter of fact, I want this trial to happen. Like, I do. But enough is enough. Enough is enough. I actually applaud Kranick's handling of this lately. I really do. It's not an easy position that he's in. He's in the toughest. He's like between a rock and a hard place, like right now, okay? Because he's dealing with this difficult person who is in a very not good position right now. He knows she's really not prepared to defend herself. But he can't just let her keep abusing the system. That's not fair either. To the other side, what about George Torres's family? What about George Torres? Where's his justice? Is it justice to give her headphones? Is that justice for George Torres or the system or the state to pay for extra special privilege items for Sarah Boone because she can't cooperate with her own state appointed and paid for by all the people of Florida? She can't get along with them. And so it's up to us to give her all these, it's up to them now to pay for all the special privileges. And what about all the other inmates' rights? What about, inmate B over here who doesn't like the music that's being played in the rec room and wants to wear headphones because it makes them crazy or whatever, or wants special privileges because their relatives are too far away or this, that, or the other thing. I can't even think of all the millions of reasons why you cannot violate the other inmates' rights. It should be obvious. I mean, it's obvious to me. It's probably obvious to everybody in the chat and everybody who's listening later. Why isn't it to Sarah Boone? She's so damn special. This might be getting documented so the judge can pull her pro se on the motion that her attorney is incompetent. No, he made her pro se against her will. He refused to assign another attorney to her. She actually went on record to say, I don't want to be pro se anymore. You're making me do this. That was your judgment. Your incorrect, uninformed judgment of me. That's what she said. Yeah. In open court to his face. Yep. Yeah. She's fighting back. But they can't pull the pro se. She's pro se against her will. She actually thought she was going to get another attorney after she wrote a 58-page letter to the judge at the point where the judge was saying, let's just work this out. And Patricia Cashman said if she would stop walking out of our meetings, I could present her what she wants. We've got to get this moving forward. Patricia Cashman said, I'm ready for trial. I only need 3 or 4 days. Let's keep the date. Once the date was sent, Sarah went ballistic, wrote a 58-page letter about how she can't stand the attorney. It's my personal opinion that she was just looking for another delay, but what she got was Patricia Cashman saw the 58-page letter, asked to be released since there's no way they could work it out. The judge agreed, and he wrote a 16 or 17-page order stating that she had vacated her right for another attorney for her abuse of the system. And he documented every attorney that she had and every reason she stated why she wouldn't work with them and what they said about her behavior also. And he did plenty of case law to support it. I mean, and he keeps referring her back to it. Give her just justice for Queen Boone. Give her everything just because. Okay, I'm going to finish up here now. Okay, so here we are. You're cracking me up, Liam. Thank you for making me laugh because she's so frustrating. She's so frustrating. I do want her to get a fair trial. I need to see this trial happen. I really do. And I really do hope we get to do it live. On August 22nd, there's a deadline for defense's evidence and witness list to discovery. She only has, towards the end of the month, she has a few more days to get this ready. And she has a few more days to get together with the state and her investigator to try to get the state evidence review done. Otherwise, there'll be a hearing on September 3rd, and it will be public. Now, the status conference was on the 24th. As I told you last time we did this, I think it was only a week ago, that it's been rescheduled to the 22nd to give Sarah a couple more days. But again, October 7th, the judge has reaffirmed after all of the hearings and in every hearing that the dates are going to stay the dates. The trial start is on the 7th, and it was for only a week based on what the state and Patricia Cashman, the former public defender, had said. But now it's been extended to 3 weeks. Just based on the hearings. Judge Craddock is a very smart man. He is. And he is very patient, too. He has really been going out of her way to educate her on why her denials are happening, why she's not doing things in the proper format. He's not actually giving her legal advice, but he is, where he can give her an explanation, he does. Okay. The JAC also has been trying to help her. And I have to say, the state attorney's office has been bending over backwards to not get this thrown out for a mistrial also. And kudos to Billy Lane in Prison Break investigation. He is the owner and lead investigator, and he's acting as a consummate professional and really working for the justice system here with a very difficult client, but knowing that justice is what needs to happen. And he's really putting his best foot forward, okay, to do that. I mean, he's very professional and he's doing whatever the court asks. And very impressed. I'm very impressed. And he actually, when he tells Sarah he's going to be there, he's there. He's at the court. He's at the prison. I can imagine what those meetings are. He's trying to show her the discovery, and they only get to 1 or 2 because she's yada. I mean, the only person who probably talks more than me on this planet is probably Sarah Boone. Just saying. Just saying. I know. I talk too much. I know. I can talk a blue streak. I wish Sarah would get that clue. A little bit of self-awareness there. Just a little. Just a little bit. It's not too much to ask for, is it? Okay. I have just a little bit else to talk to you about with Sarah Boone. Recently, Winston Hobson, remember him? The attorney before Cashman. He worked hard in the beginning. He got some things filed. He got some things paid for. He really did some work. Okay. He was only her attorney for what, 4 months, 5 months, maybe. Okay. Now, he filed to get paid with the JAC, but he wanted to get paid the full fee. Now, let me just explain that the JAC is the one who covers the expenses for indigent inmates who need public defenders, and everything has to go through them, and they've got rules and regulations. Well, this case is going on 5 years, and there's a $15,000 cap on attorney fees. Now, Mauricio Padillo, who was the attorney from 2020 to 2022, did a majority of the work. I mean, that's the longest time she had an attorney, and he's filed for bills too. But anyway, Winston Hobson, it does appear that he was applying for full fee because he actually documented all this work that he did. He didn't put an invoice out, but he actually stated in writing with a public filing that, you know, he deserved this, that, and the other thing. And the JAC did file back that they can't do that because they actually have to prorate it to all the attorneys. Now, Patricia Cashman has put on that she put 20 hours plus. You know, William Hobson, what was it? Bankman, you know, the one before that, Frank, the older gentleman who was called all kinds of names in public court by Sarah. All of these attorneys are going to get a prorated fee of the $15,000, you know. So I ask you this, I don't know. That's going to go back and forth with William or with Hobson, Attorney Hobson and the JAC, but they can only do what they can do. There's a cap for $15,000. Like, I don't know what the procedure is to ask for additional money. I'm going to actually look into that. But the other thing that Sarah has asked for recently is that she wants a neuropsychologist. She wants them to pay for that. Now, they had already put on there that they would pay for the expert witness on there, but she never put the amounts or who it is, and she still hasn't. She needs to put the amount and who it is, and she needs her investigator to help her with that. There seems to be, through the records, that there were some contact, and if she goes to what Patricia Cashman did, I'm sure it's there. If she just needs to go to the last work, I'm sure Patricia Cashman has it all in order in there, and she will know that William Hobson actually did do some interviews with neuropsychiatrists about this abused person defense that they're going to do. You know, battered woman defense they were talking about quite a while ago. And it seems like it is possible, you know. And she should get that witness in there, but she can't just whine to the court about it and do these motions with nothing in it. This is the second time that the court has to remind her, you cannot send anything to me without it going to the JAC with the amount and who it is and the contact. Like, there have to be agreements signed, and then we'll get it. Nobody's trying to hold her back from getting these witnesses. They were secured, and the payments have been pre-approved as long as they're within the guidelines. But she has to file the proper format. In 2 weeks, like almost 2 weeks ago, she did receive the JAC pack on how to request the services and how to get them paid for. So she has everything, and she thanked them for it. And not only did they give it to her in court, they sent it to her again, and they gave it to the judge, like exactly what it was, on the day of the hearing, and I believe it was the 5th. So, like, they have it, you know. I'm going to try to read this with a straight face there. Liam says, if they put her in an fMRI, will they be able to find the area of the brain which is dedicated to gaslighting? Will it shine brighter? Could be. Could be. I do actually think this is her best defense, though, a neuropsychologist. I do think that she should have somebody up there talking about her state of mind in the abusive relationship. It's well known that they were both very abusive to each other. Both Sarah and George had charges filed against them, both dropped. None of them ever went to court for it. Okay. Sarah constantly, when she pressed charges on George, went and released them and dropped the charges. And then also when they did the last one where Sarah was actually indicated to be the aggressor when she choked him out, that was in 2018, they actually dropped those charges. So she's not convicted of abuse, but neither was George. All we know for sure is that they were, by both their statements, in an abusive relationship, and neither of them treated the other the way they should be treated. They were both handsy. Let's say that. There was one where Sarah showed up with a mark on his face. There's another one where George had these marks all over his neck and his shoulder. And then we have actually the autopsy report, which is going to be a challenge during the court because Sarah says that the suitcase never moved. And yet there's 2 videos and it's in 2 different positions. One time it was flipped all the way over. And he's also got contusions on his shoulders and all, and a head trauma. And it looks like perhaps that suitcase went down the stairs, maybe. I don't know. That's speculation. I'm not the state DA. I'm not making a case here. I'm just going by the statements that were made about the autopsy and what they saw. We'll have to wait for the court to actually see what they present. And this is true, Liam. We only have evidence of her behavior. True. Because that's the other thing. George Torres isn't here anymore to defend himself. And that's where justice has to come in, right? So I will take more questions. And then I'm going to close out. And wow, I am before the 2-hour mark. Mark, I need hearts and flowers in the chat, man. I did it. I did all 4 in less than 2 hours. And I remembered the banner and pat myself on the back. I started the stream on time. I only think it's fair if you point out all the times I did it wrong. Did you at least, give me a little something, maybe an honor for doing it right? Am I able to sneak into Discord? Not while I'm live. I'm sorry still, but I can go look right after the stream ends, which I'm getting ready to wrap it up now. And since nobody gave me an honor for all my good deeds, I guess I'll just remind you all that I still have to do Baby Reindeer, and I'm hoping to do that during the week. Oh, thank you, Liam. Oh, I did get hearts and flowers. Oh, I even got an award. Thank you, Mippy. Mark, you owe me. Actually, I like when he reminds me because it keeps me on my toes. He gave me what? He gives me pink poop? Jeez, thanks, Mark. Not even periwinkle with the glasses? Come on. All right, Mark. I'll let you pass. But thanks. Anyway, I hope to see you guys during the week. I'm going to try to do Baby Reindeer. It's going to be an earlier show because I don't want to interfere with the other streams of some of my fabulous mods and friends that come, my members that actually do the streams on Wednesday and Thursday. And I want to leave it open for Friday. I'm not sure if I have my panel on Friday with the Utopians. If I do, I'll be over there. But if I don't, we're going to do What the F again, which is like, I really loved. I really thank all of you that showed up for Mayhem last Friday, which was so fun to do again. Gosh, I missed that intro. I missed that music. I missed the whole vibe of that whole thing. And it was just so much fun to have everybody up there again and being a little crazy. And I actually had to do a retraction on some of the information on the Olympic breakdancer. And I willingly did it because, I hate misinformation, but we did have a little bit of a go. It was fun. I still think she stinks, so I'm not taking that back. But some of the rumor that's going on around her isn't actually true. And so I did want to clear that up, What the Beck, you always intentionally? Mark, Beck, come on now. This is like maybe maybe over 18, but this is not the NSFW room, Hey, everybody. It's good to see you. Good to see you, Beck. But I'm going to sign off now. And hopefully I will be doing Baby Reindeer and then a little bit of other little things. We still have to go over CoffeeZilla and Logan Paul. And that's been quite interesting lately, But I think you're going to like Baby Reindeer best. And you guys did vote for that first. So either Wednesday or Thursday. And then, of course, if the bee is rested enough from all of her very good, fun, and studious activities, we will have Baron Bee on Sunday, because I've been foraging and ready. But thank you for keeping me company tonight. Don't forget, if you have other questions that come up later, or there's something you want to talk about in regards to any of these cases or any of the other ones that we are following, please hit the back of the videos. I love getting your comments. I will answer and research. You know that. I don't mind homework. I don't mind homework at all. And so I want to actually get you the questions because I think you need the information to make your decisions on this. It's just not as fun to just go with what anybody says, right? I want you guys to have it all. we all feel the way we feel. I want you to have a place to talk about it, discuss it, look for additional information, and etc. So I look forward to. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. That's as much YouTube-y things that I can possibly handle in one day. That's the most that I can do. So I will see you all again during the week. And don't forget, listen, if you do end up doing anything illegal and you do end up in jail and you need a public defender, could you, like, you don't get along with them, could you stop at like number 3? Like, don't end up on 8 and end up pro se. It just not seem to be working out for Miss Boone, and I'd hate to see anybody else in that position. I mean, this is actually one of those cases that's so intriguing, not only because of the case itself, involving the suitcase, involving the evidence on her own phone, the defendant themselves, but just the fact of working through the system and not being able to work through the system with this type of defendant. I really want to see what kind of precedent and how laws change, and whether they'll actually start to drill it down and say the max that you can get is 4. And after that, you're on your own, or, to stop this process, because we're going on 5 years before a trial here, almost 5 years. And a lot of it could have been handled right in 2022. We were probably working right towards trial before she lost Mauricio Padillo, the longest attorney that she had on record. You're right, Beck. She does seem a little too intelligent, but crazy at the same time, to have done it accidentally. Either what happened and or eliminating all her attorneys. Yeah, I agree. Anyway, that's my crazy for the night. I do hope to see you all during the week, if not on the weekend. Have a great one, everybody.